I got to tell you, I've been reading your stuff, and it says, hey, you started singing in bands in 2006. Well,
Right.
I started singing in bands in 2007 in a
Ah,
blues band.
ah.
So I'm 50 some odd years old, and I'm almost 50 years old, and I'm starting to sing in a band. That's how it all started. I actually said this, Steve. I said, "What's a front man?" I must have had a few too many beverages, but the guy says, "What's a?" I said, "What's a front man?" He goes, "No, we need a guy to sing in a band." I was actually at a wine dinner at a church, and there's a guy up there playing the guitar, just playing instrumental. And he said, "Well, what do you do?" I said, "Well, I sing." And he goes, "Well, what do you sing?" I said, "Well, I like the blues and stuff." He goes, "Well, do you know this? You know this?" I go, "Yeah, I know those." He goes, "Well, let me I'll take a pit stop and then come up on stage with me here. And you want to do a few?" I said, "Yeah, that'd be great. I'll do it." And so we did, and people hung around. We just kept going. And then, I'm like shaking hands with him at the end of the night. "Hey, see you later, buddy. What's your name?" And he's like, "Wait a minute, don't leave. We need a front man in our band." So
Oh,
that was 20 years ago. Went to Clarksdale, Mississippi for a 1 week harmonica blues camp and
oh,
met my who would turn in to be my producer and my co-writer of the songs on Stuck in the Mud, the album that you're showing the folks back there. He and I became fast friends. His name's Ralph Carter. And a couple days into the thing, Ralph, who's one of the instructors, he kind of puts his arm around me. He said, "Hey, dude, you can do this. You need to start writing your own music." And I'm like,
ooh.
"Yeah, yeah, fine." And I went back several years, a couple of years in a row, and I'd get together with Ralph and we'd yuck it up. And he goes, "Man, we're going to do an album someday." I mean, "I'd love to be on your album." He goes, "No, it's going to be your album." So I kind of forget about it. I read this story in the Wall Street Journal about a new studio in Muscle Shoals. This guy bought this old mansion. He remodels it into a studio. The band stays there for the week and you make music. So I took a picture of it with my cell phone and I
Right.
texted it out to Ralph in Ventura, California. I'm in Indianapolis. I said, "Hey, Ralph, here's where we're going to make our record." I was kidding. And he came back and said, "Okay, when do we record?" And 5 months later, we were in Muscle Shoals in that very studio making Stuck in the Mud, that record right behind you. In 12 weeks, I'll have a bunch of songs written for you. I had never written a song before.
Right.
And so I did. I walked down there with a pile of lyrics, and he's a great musician, and we turned them into songs.
You not only made a record, but you're beginning to do the songwriting, and you get the one to watch songwriter or mention with Nashville Songwriters Association. 2023, you signed with Big Radio Records, right?